Hey guys, I'm cmasupra and welcome to another Company of Heroes 2 multiplayer video. In this video, I want to go over the German Close Air Support Doctrine, which is one of the two doctrines you could have gotten for free as part of the competition going on between Company of Heroes 2 and Total War Rome 2 at the end of February. The Close Air Support Doctrine is the doctrine you could have gotten as the Germans, and the Advanced Warfare Tactics Doctrine is the doctrine you could have gotten as the Soviets, which I will be making a video on that doctrine when I get to it. But for this video, I'm going to go over the Close Air Support Doctrine. However, before we get into the doctrine, I want to go over the setting for this game. So I am playing as the Germans. That's how I use the German doctrine, right? My opponents are the Soviets. My opponent is the Soviets, rather. There's only one opponent. And we are playing on the map Road to Kharkov. Now, my opponent this game was the same exact opponent I had in the previous game, and in the previous game, I beat him really quickly using the German Close Air Support Doctrine. All because I had so many munitions that I placed so many S-mines, and he never bought a minesweeper, and so he just lost a ton of units to the S-mines. It really wasn't a game worth showing on YouTube, but this game actually was, because my opponent was better prepared for this doctrine this time. I was kind of sort of tricking him in the beginning, like, ooh, what am I going to pick this time? Am I going to pick a different doctrine? Am I going to pick the same one? What am I going to do? I'm trying to throw him off here, because you always want to have your opponent thrown off at least a little bit when you're facing them twice in a row. But in the end, I do still pick the German Close Air Support Doctrine, the same one I picked in the previous game. So the abilities on this doctrine are... the first one is a recon run for 30 munitions, while it's normally 80 munitions, so that is awesome. The second ability trades 50 fuel for 150 munitions, so you take away 50 fuel and you get 150 munitions. And then the second two, not the second two, the next two abilities are an anti-infantry strafing run and an anti-tank strafing run. And then the last ability is a Stuka bombing strike. Now, you might notice a pattern in all of these abilities, except for the second one, which gives you munitions. All of them, except for that second one, cost munitions, and they're not exactly cheap. But they are cheap enough that the second ability really enables you to use them quite a lot. So the power with this doctrine is that it is close air support. There's a ton of air abilities, like 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4 out of the 5 abilities call in some Stuka in order to do some job with the Stuka, whether that's kill infantry, kill tanks, do a recon run, do a bombing strike, whatever. The second ability is what gives you the ability to trade your fuel and get munitions. Like I said, you trade 50 fuel for 150 munitions, which is a really, really good ability. And that is, in my opinion, the main strength of this doctrine. Whenever I'm playing as the Germans, I often find, and this is very, very common for me, I often find that I am really running low on munitions. I can't buy as many things with munitions as I want to buy. Like LMG-42s, I cannot afford LMG-42s most of the time because I have to save up for Panzerschrecks or something in order to do something about the early vehicles that might show up. Other examples are MG bunkers. I don't want to build an MG bunker. I want to make sure I have enough munitions for the medic bunker in my HQ. So I find that with Germans, I really don't have enough munitions a lot of the time. However, this doctrine really, really fixes it with the second ability it has that trades 50 fuel for 150 munitions. It is a great ability and is the central piece of this entire doctrine, in my opinion. That is because it removes the munitions limitation, because 50 fuel is actually not that hard to come by in this game if you use the ability a lot, because you can use the ability to lose your fuel, get munitions, buy lots of munitions, use a lot of rifle grenades, get LMG-42s, get Panzerschrecks, get MG bunkers, things like that. You can use those to maintain your map control and get more fuel, which in turn gives you more munitions to use more munition abilities. And it just steamrolls like that over your opponent because you have so many munitions, you're using so many abilities that they cannot keep up with their manpower because you're using your abilities, your munitions rather, to destroy your opponent's manpower, and manpower is the most important resource in this game. So I think I made my point clear as to why I believe the second ability in this doctrine is the main ability, and everything else just really complements it well, and it really even complements the entire German doctrine, the entire German army. very well. I haven't been explaining what's been going on this entire game, have I? There's been a lot of fighting going on. I don't even know what's been going on. I've been trying to think in my head how to explain why I love this doctrine so much. I guess I never really explained that I do love this doctrine. I love it a lot. It is such a good doctrine. It is probably my favorite doctrine. Like, one of the reasons I like Company of Heroes 1 is that heavy tanks did not win the game. In Company of Heroes 2, heavy tanks and super tanks do win the game. But in Company of Heroes 1, they didn't. If you could secure a huge lead in the early game, using your infantry, using munition abilities, things like that, you never had to worry about super tanks or heavy tanks showing up, and the game would be over pretty quickly. And as the Germans in Company of Heroes 2, this doctrine really lets you do that because you can get so many munitions and use so many abilities in the early game that you can really secure your early game lead, and then the late game never shows up with heavy tanks and such. That is why I really, really like this doctrine. So here you can see an example of something I would never do if I was not using this doctrine. I bought an LMG-42. As you can see, it really rips conscripts to shreds. My opponent was a bit busy doing something else on the map, so he didn't even notice that I was ripping him to shreds, but I was. I think he actually thought he was going to win that fight, and so he stopped looking at the squad because I didn't have the LMG-42 at the time, but then as soon as he looked away, I got the LMG-42. I'm pretty sure that's what happened there. And that's why he didn't retreat his squad. You gotta pay attention to all the fights going on in the battlefield. So, there's another thing. Rifle grenades. I used a lot of rifle grenades this game. Med bunker. Oh no! I don't have munitions! Whatever will I do? So this is actually one of the limitations of this doctrine. The second ability, which gives you munitions at the cost of fuel, is at 3 command points. It's not a very, very early game thing. It's more of a late early game thing as soon as you start getting light vehicles in the game. So it's not going to help you in the very early game. You still have to like play a normal German fight in the very early game. But as you go to the late early game, you can start spending your fuel and trading it for munitions, and that is when this doctrine really becomes powerful. This Pyro squad needs to retreat. There's no way it's gonna win. Yeah. We cannot win here. Retreat. And they're gonna die. Yep. So, we do have our first vehicle on the field by my opponent. It actually came on the field quite a while ago, but I didn't mention it because I was talking about other things, like the doctrine. But I'm not really worried about the half-track, or the scout car, rather. Because I have so many munition abilities. I can get Panzerschrecks, I can build tier, what would that be, 2? Yeah, tier 2. Get Panzer Grenadiers, get Panzerschrecks, I can use Panzerfausts, I can use rifle grenades. I'm essentially using my munitions as if they are unlimited, because they basically are. Look at how much fuel I have. I'm sitting on over 100 fuel. I could use the ability twice and get 300 munitions out of that 100 fuel. And with 300 munitions, you can do a lot of things. A lot of Panzerfausts, a lot of Panzerschrecks, a lot of rifle grenades. You can do a lot with 300 munitions. Now, I should mention that as the game goes on, once you start getting into command points 6, 10, and 12, which is the last 3 abilities on this doctrine, you kind of want to start saving up your munitions, or saving up your fuel and using the ability a lot. And the reason for that is those 3 abilities are sometimes useful in the late game. It depends on how you did in the early game. You can see I'm spending so many munitions here. I'm putting flamethrowers on my pioneers, I'm using rifle grenades, I'm using, I don't know what else. I'm buying LMG-42s, something I would never do normally playing as the Germans. I am just spending munitions as if they're unlimited, because they pretty much are. Here comes another rifle grenade, and this penal battalion is very much screwed. Yeah, there you go. The opponent noticed. Flamethrower pioneers versus conscripts. I don't know who's going to win that. It's always a toss-up between that matchup. Oh, we do have my first Panzer Grenadier squad on the field, so I guess I should mention my teching that I do with this this doctrine. I normally don't tech to tier 3 or tier 4 of this doctrine. I build tier 1 at the early game like you would normally do with any other German doctrine, because like I said, this doctrine doesn't give you anything in the early game. It starts giving you things towards the late early game. So I built tier 1, and then I build tier 2, and then I don't tech past that unless I am fearing tanks from my opponent and I am just not getting a good enough lead in the early game and mid game before the vehicles show up. This sniper is so screwed. I was intentionally coming around here to flank him get between him and his HQ, and there goes the sniper. Oh, this was pretty funny. Look at how weak the scout cars are now. Panzer Grenadiers versus scout car. Panzer Grenadiers win. They absolutely win. Scout cars are so weak now. But just look at how much damage I'm doing to my opponent's manpower. He's lost a sniper squad. He's lost a scout car. I'm sure he's lost other squads. He's not doing very well in this early game, and it's partially because of my unlimited munitions. I can use as many rifle grenades as I want. I can use as many Panzerfaust as I want. I can buy as many LMG-42s as I want. I can do whatever I want with my munitions because my munitions are essentially unlimited. I really like this doctrine. This has to be the best doctrine the Germans have, at least in my opinion, because I'm somebody who likes to win in the early game and just avoid the late game entirely. That's one thing I always try to do in Company of Heroes 1. I have a hard time doing it in Company of Heroes 2, or at least I did before I found this doctrine. So, sitting on 135 fuel and 50 munitions. Do I need more munitions? I do. I go ahead and buy the ability, and I'm going to get myself another LMG-42 on this squad. There we go. I still have 146 munitions. I could buy a Panzerschreck, well, 2 Panzerschrecks, and oh, I even have my first Panzerschreck thing on the field, and I can buy another set of Panzerschrecks, so that'd be a lot of Panzerschrecks. It is worth noting that currently my opponent does have one of the field points on the map, so there's a chance that vehicles will be showing up, tanks will be showing up, and so I should be prepared for those. But I'm trying my best to make sure they don't show up by destroying my opponent's manpower and thus taking the map because he doesn't have enough units left. That was a pretty decent bundle grenade. So my opponent has a bunch of infantry in the middle, but I'm capping points all around the map. I also have still more infantry than he does, I believe, although I could be wrong about that. I have spent so many munitions this game. Am I going to buy a half-track? Do I decide to do it? No, I do not. Or do I? I'm teching up. I'm teching up. Apparently I don't buy the half-track, though. Oh yeah, I thought there was a mine over here. That's why I bought another Pioneer squad. Since my other one had a flamethrower, I decided to just buy another one and get a minesweeper. Because I thought my opponent laid a mine over there, but he apparently didn't. Look at how many LMG-42s, look at how many munitions I've spent. Just looking at the top right corner of the screen, I have one Panzerschreck squad, so it's 120. 1, 2, 3 LMG-42s. Are those 60 each? I believe they are. So that's 180 plus 120, which is 300. And then I have a minesweeper and a flamethrower. I don't actually know how much those cost, but I'm going to assume it's 30 for the minesweeper and 60 for the flamethrower. So that's another 90, so that's 390 munitions approximately. Since I don't know the exact cost of the minesweeper or flamethrower. But that's a lot of munitions to have spent in just 13, 14 minutes in the game. That is a lot of munitions to spend. It's something you could never do without this doctrine. I am grabbing the second field point on the map, the one closer to my opponent's base, so he will not be getting vehicles anytime soon unless he's gathered up enough fuel and saved it, or spent it all towards teching up. At least he'll have his vehicles delayed, if nothing else, though. Man. I'm just doing so much damage to his manpower, it's crazy. These munition abilities are awesome. This is definitely my favorite doctrine as the Germans.
We've captured Grenadiers reporting. Time to go.
I suppose another reason I really like this doctrine is because the fact that it avoids all the super tanks and stuff. I really don't like super tanks in Company of Heroes. I don't like how tanks really win the game. This doctrine, like I said, does avoid the late game. It never comes if you can win in the early game with this doctrine, which is actually a lot easier to do than without this doctrine, thanks to the munitions that you can get. So that's an added bonus to the doctrine. I'm spending so many munitions. I forgot to mention all the rifle grenades that I've spent munitions on. So 390 plus whatever I spent on rifle grenades, which is a ton, I'm sure. Oh, I'm so lucky there. I forgot to mention, that grenade hitting the Panther Grenadier squad reminded me, but I forgot to mention that this game I actually retreated the squads just to heal them. It's not something I do very often as the Germans. I usually retreat them to reinforce them, not to heal them, but this game actually did it to heal them in order to try and save my own manpower, because I am trying, like I said, to dwindle down my opponent's manpower and prevent him from teching, prevent him from having map control that way. Not by taking the fuel, not by taking anything else, but rather just by taking his manpower and then using my unit advantage in numbers, I guess. Unit number advantage? I don't know. We'll call it that. Unit number advantage to get map control and then thus defeat my opponent. Would have been nice to have an LMG-42 on this Grenadier squad. I can afford one, but they're definitely not in range. Rough grenade time. It does practically nothing. Oh, I'm sending down a strafing run. The first strafing run this game. The sad thing about the strafing run is it actually does take quite a while to come in. Both the anti-infantry strafing run and the anti-tank strafing run take a while to come in, so I'm pretty sure I didn't actually hit anything when I did that. If I did, it only suppressed things, but I don't even think it did that much. I'm pretty sure he scattered out of the area thanks to the smoke. But strafing run is still quite useful to have. By the way, I will be using every single ability in the Doctrine in this game. I didn't mention that at the beginning of the video, but I will be using every single ability before this game is over. So we will get to see an example of every single ability. Here you can see me placing down S-mines. I'm deciding where I want to put them, and I decide to put them over there where my flank is kind of open. Like I said at the beginning of this video, previous game I played against this opponent, I won so quickly because I placed S-mines in so many places that he just kept losing squads. S-mines are very powerful, even against retreating units. Like, if a squad is retreating and they go over S-mines, you can pretty much say goodbye to that squad because S-mines are just that powerful. We did have an Su-85 on the field by my opponent, so this is the first vehicle that's not a scout car that we have seen from my opponent. I suppose that would mean it's the first tank, wouldn't it? It's the first tank we've seen from my opponent, so we now know that he has a tank, but the tank is only really good at long range against other tanks. But my strategy with this doctrine is not to tech up. It's not to tech up at all unless I need to. My strategy is to stick with infantry and just use those effectively. Now remember, but I did actually tech up this game because I thought I was going to need to counter some vehicles. I was expecting something more along the lines of a T-34 showing up, not an Su-85, but I did tech up expecting a T-34. Panzerschrecks could have easily handled the T-34. I mean, I already have 2 Panzerschreck squads. I can easily get another one since I have plenty of fuel to spend to get another 150 munitions and put Panzerschrecks on my 3rd Panzer Grenadier squad. But I decided to check out this game because I figured let's change it up a little bit, and just in case a T-34 shows up, I would like to have a tank and not just rely on Panzerschrecks. Although, as you will see later in this game, towards the very, very end of it, Panzerschrecks are quite effective, especially when you have 6 of them. I'll let you guys leave that up to your imagination what that might look like, but you'll see it at the end of the game. Did I send another strafing run? I think I did. I think I sent another strafing run. It didn't do much though, because he was retreating.
Standing by.
Still very useful. I don't care if it's a waste of munitions, because I essentially have unlimited munitions. 3rd set of Panzerschrecks is coming right up. So I'll have 2 Panzer Shreks on each of my Panzer Grenadier squads for a total of 6 Panzer Shreks. My opponent's pretty base pinned at this point, thanks to all the munition abilities I've used. Like I said, this is my favorite doctrine. This game just really showed it off so well. I found that when using this doctrine, you really... I know I've already said this, but you really don't get into the late game. This doctrine avoids the late game. As a result, even though I've played, like, I don't know, 10 games with this doctrine in a row, none of the games have gone on very long unless it's a game where I have lost, in which case I was doing okay in the early game and the mid game, and then I just suddenly lose at the end because this doctrine doesn't really have anything good at the end, and I didn't really bother teching up because I didn't know I needed to. But games where I ended up winning, it was always a relatively quick win like this game is. I mean, clearly at this point you can tell that I'm going to win this game. Just look at how much infantry I have at the top right corner, look at my map control at the bottom left corner. My opponent actually has all of maybe 2 or 3 points connected to his base. It's not very many. Strafing run inbound. I saw my opponent capturing that point, but I thought maybe he wouldn't be paying attention to the squad, maybe he won't see the smoke. Clearly I was wrong. I think my opponent just lost a Vet 3 conscript squad there. Ohio squad needs to retreat, it's gonna die. Yep, there he goes. Ooh, a strafing run by my opponent. Okay. Strafing run versus strafing run. It'd be amazing if the planes could strafe each other rather than just the ground. My opponent is really trying to use that Su-85, but it is not working for him. Alright, here comes the anti-tank strafing run. We've seen the anti-infantry, time for the anti-tank. Once it comes. It takes a while to come, like I said. Same with the anti-infantry strafing run. Su-85 is backing up, and they get a few hits on it, maybe just 1 hit, and it does a decent amount of damage, so... At least if nothing else, I made his Su-85 back up. Now here are the 6 Panzer Shreks I was talking about. I have 3 Panzer Grenadier squads, each with 2 Panzer Shreks for a total of 6 Panzer Shreks. The Su-85 is not good against infantry, and you can probably guess what's going to happen. Sitting at 60 munitions, not very many. Tons of fuel though. I haven't had enough fuel to actually buy a tank this game yet. That is one of the downsides to this doctrine. I keep spending... Oh, look at this. Penal Battalion squad's getting owned by the S-mines I placed. But I haven't bought a tank because I have been spending my fuel on munitions, but it hasn't really hurt me. Oh. There we go. Like I said, S-mines are very powerful even against retreating units, and here you can see me placing more S-mines because I want to replace the ones that were blown up. And I tell my opponent, yep, they're powerful, because at the end of last game he was just like, wow, S-mines are powerful. Remember that's how I won the previous game against this guy? Using a ton of S-mines. Here we get to see that again. Yep, they're powerful. You are swimming in munitions, I can tell. Yep, because I'm using the same doctrine I used last game, and he says that he gives up. Which I don't really blame him. I would have rage quit by now. It would have been so annoying facing me this game. So here we go. I bought munitions. I'm doing a recon run over my opponent's base. I have 157 munitions. 160, there we go, enough for the bombing strike. So here comes the bombing strike. Oh my god, look at how much infantry is over there. Look at the Su-85, it's dead to 6 Panzer Shreks very, very quickly. And here comes the bombing strike. You can hear it diving in on the opponent. Oh, that did a lot of damage. I have no idea what it killed, but that was very deadly on my opponent. And the nice thing about the bombing strike is, unlike the strafing runs, both strafing runs, it doesn't deploy smoke, so your opponent has to try and find where it's going based on sounds. Which, by the way, in case you didn't know, you can find where the bombing strike is going based on sounds, because it'll either be in your left ear, your right ear, lower on the map, higher on the map, things like that. When it's in the middle of your headset, If that makes any sense, that means it's going to drop right in the middle of your screen. So whatever's in the middle of your screen is where that thing is going to land. In case you guys did not know that you can figure out where it's going to land based on sound. Wow, look at the veterancy on my units. 3 Vet 3 units and 3 Vet 2 units. And I'm building a broom bar now. Broom bear, broom bar, whatever it's called, because my opponent has a ton of infantry. I just killed his Su-85. I am not at all worried about another tank showing up because I have the entire map to myself. I also built another Panzer Grenadier squad. Figured I could use some more anti-infantry, even though I already have a ton, and I just bombed most of my opponent's infantry. Placing some more S-mines. Let's place it right outside this fuel point. Yeah. Right outside the fuel point. This game's over at this point. Anyways, GG's. Laters is what he says. So, yeah, he's definitely given up, and there we go. A victory.
We give the fatherland
With a victory. I have no idea if that actually lined up with him talking and me talking, but regardless, I get a victory. And this is one of the bugs with the March deployment update that I've noticed. You can't actually see in your opponent's base. You cannot see anything that you could not see at the end of the game. It doesn't light up the entire map for you. The fog of war is still on, which is really annoying. I hope it's just a bug and they fix it. I know with Company of Heroes 1, it sometimes existed, sometimes didn't. They kept going back and forth as they updated the game. They kept somehow reenacting the bug, or I don't know. Putting the bug back in the game and then taking it out, then putting it back in and taking it out. I hope they take it out again with Company of Heroes 2. I want to see what my opponent had left, but I can't. So, 6 Panzer Shreks, well, I guess 3 Panzer Shrek squads, 1, 2, 3, 4 LMGs, 1 Minesweeper, 1 Flamethrower. Lots and lots of munitions spent this game at the cost of fuel. I didn't even get 1 tank out this game, although I was building a broom bar and was 3/4 of the way done with it. It never actually came out because I had won the game before it even came out on the field. Oh, look at what we have here. A Soviet mine. He actually placed down an anti-tank mine. So, I'm glad I bought the Minesweeper squad, even though they proved to be useless in the end, except at the very, very end. Anyways, guys, I hope you all have enjoyed this video and found it helpful. This is probably my favorite doctrine as the Germans because, like I've said many times in this video so far, it really focuses on winning the early game and the mid game and tries hard to just completely avoid the late game, which is the part of Company of Heroes 2 and Company of Heroes 1 that I'm not a big fan of. So, like I said, hope you all enjoyed the video and found it informative, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.